to Itsy Bitsy Bookworms Radio, where we are all about the kids. I am Pamela Hornsby Irvin, author, educator, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker. I will be your host for the next hour. So, listeners, now it's that time to grab that pen and paper to write down information I am sure that you can use. And without further ado, I would like to introduce my guest for the day, Palmer Alexander III. Welcome, Palmer. How are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, Pam. I'm really happy to be a part of this show today.
Well, I am just so excited that you're on the show because we have a lot of information that we're going to impart to the listeners that I know they're going to be really excited about. So, we're just going to just go on and jump right on in. But I would like to say something just really quick to my listeners and especially to the new listeners. I'm not always going to tell you specifically who's the guest on Itsy Bitsy Bookworms Radio. You just have to tune in and find out. So if I were you, I'd tune in each and every Sunday because you don't want to miss not one great show. Okay, Palmer, now let's
wait a minute, Pam. What, before you get started, you know what? I really wish I could have heard some Aretha Franklin Jump to It because that was my favorite song. That's one of my favorites.
You know what? you know what? Let me just say, because you are totally in my head right now, what I planned to do, and I was kind of like got off kilter a little bit because of the start and everything. This is a Labor Day weekend. A lot is going on with a lot of people, and so it kind of took me off. I got a little off balance there, but my goal was to, take a moment to pay tribute to Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. I mean, because she's affected, I know, everybody. It's not one person that does not know who Aretha Franklin is, right? So, see, now you brought it up because I actually was going to do a little karaoke, okay? So I'm going to tell you now, listeners, I'm going to go ahead and you can blame it on Palmer because I was going to kind of like skate on by it, but since he brought it to the forefront, I'm going to do a little karaoke. And you all can talk about how bad I sound if you want to, but just give me credit for having the nerve to do this because she has so many different songs just outside of Natural Woman and Respect, okay? So one of my favorites was Until You Come Back to Me, okay? But now, mind you, I love the Sparkle soundtrack. That was, like, totally awesome.
Yeah.
But, okay, here we go with the Itsy Bitsy Bookworms tribute to Aretha Franklin and Blame It on Palmer. Okay. And though you don't call anymore, I sit and wait in vain. I guess I'll rap on your door and tap on your window pane. I'm gonna tell you, baby, the changes I've been going through. Missing you until you come back to me. That's what I'm gonna do. Rest in peace, yes. Rest in peace, Aretha, the Queen of Soul, yes. And thank you, Palmer. You just made me have to do it. You made me have to go there. Okay. So,
oh man, I'm loving it. This is a fun interview already. I'm loving it.
Yes, that's why, hey, I tell everybody you don't want to miss the show because we're full of fun, laughter, entertainment, but we're also informative as well. Yeah. So, now, if, oh, wow, okay, yeah, go ahead. Okay, we're just going all off script today. Come on, Alan, drop that beat, okay? I'm living in a world of right, so listeners, you know that today we're gonna go over 4 o'clock, so it'll be about what 4:20. We're gonna keep it going till about 4:20. So all right now that we
I actually I actually got a 4 o'clock appointment.
oh
So
okay, all right. Well, let's
I'm
go.
sorry,
Let's
Pam.
get to it.
I'm
All right,
sorry,
that's
Pam.
okay. No worries because that's okay. It's Labor Day. We're gonna go with the flow. Okay. Now you are a sportscaster. You are a media man. Quickly tell us what it is that you do.
Oh well, I've been in media for well over 20 years. So I had got my start off, uh, you know, being on shows like on KFNS 590, with Frank Cusimano, um, Charlie Tuna, and Mike Claiborne, and guys like that. Um, and that led to some other opportunities, especially getting the attention of, Charter Communications. Got a chance to work with Randy Carrick and Ricky Horton that does the Cardinal broadcast. Um, Chris Kerber. I've just been blessed, meeting some great people along the way in New Black City with the late Richard Onion Horton, and get a chance to work with the first black mayor, Freeman Bosley Jr., over at 100.3 The Beat 15 years ago. Uh, it's I can trust me. It is amazing what this ride has been. I was just thinking about it. I like when we was talking off air, and I never really taken a lot of time to reflect on anything. And I got to shout out my brother Rogers Howard. He's been one of my biggest supporters, but he's known me when I was the itsy bitsy worm.
Wow, that is awesome.
When I was going to Thomas. Yeah, oh, okay. I mean, Roger. I love Roger. I mean, he was 10 years older than me, but he remembered me when I was a little bitty cat. And even as an adolescent, and I would see him along the way and whatnot, and he would just, he was just always there, and he was like that with all the brothers. But just what he's been able to do, having a vision, being a man of faith, and having his heart in the right place, you won't find a more genuine man. So when he was telling me about what you guys do, I said, "Oh yeah," in a heartbeat, So I'm enjoying every bit of this conversation we're having this afternoon. I am, and I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate you as well. So, you're a sportscaster, and some listeners might think, well, what does a sportscaster have to do with child development? So, you help children at a young age to start thinking outside the box, to explore possibilities. There are potpourri of occupations and professions out here to think about. Not everybody can be an athlete. Not everybody is going to go to the NFL. Not everybody is going to go to the NBA. So with that being said, it's never too early to start observing and noticing what talents and gifts that your children, your child or your children may possess. So what exactly, Palmer, does a sportcaster do? And I know that I'm sounding rushed, but there's a whole lot of material here that I have to get in. I know you're going to be back, but I want to get this in. Okay.
You're gonna get it in, and trust me. Listen, we don't even have to rush it because I'm gonna make it all good for you, Pam. What a sportcaster does is, a sportcaster does many tasks, observing what they see, being able to translate what they see into print, and then be able to transfer that onto camera, or to be able to articulate that over, through the airwaves. I was hugely influenced listening to KMOX radio as a young child. Growing up in North St. Louis, I could bet you I was probably the only kid in my neighborhood because in the 21st Ward, growing up on the 4100 block of Greenlee off Fair near Fairground Park and O'Fallon Park in between there. So being a kid, listening to KMOX radio, listening to guys like Randy Carricker, listening to guys like Jack Buck and Mike Shannon, all year long, and then getting introduced to men of color, Mike Claiborne, and listening to Charlie Tuna, listening to those guys do pregame of the Big Red in the 1980s, listening to them do that, watching a guy like Irv Cross, another man of color, watching him on CBS doing pregame and with Brent Musburger and Jane Kennedy, the beautiful Jane Kennedy. It set in with me because I'm looking at these people of color and listen to them. And not only listen to them, but listen to not only how educated they were, but the way that they dress, the style that they had. It was the presentation of them doing the stories and whatnot. I saw it. I felt the blackness. And then when I got involved in media, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And St. Louis, when it comes to media and being in media, it's very inclusive and it is very wide. There are just very few blacks that are in media. So, being these kids, they can get so many things out of becoming a sportscaster because they get a chance to tell the narrative. They get a chance to tell the narrative. And in the day and age that we live in now with all these electronic devices, you can be able to get statistical data, just by snapping your finger. And once they get a chance to learn how to compile stats, that's where you use everything you learn in math. Because math allows you to, if I take, for example, you see a percentage, you see 80%, right? And instantly,
right.
The things that I learned in school for math, what I learned in math is, okay, 80%, that's 4 out of 5 is 80%. 8 out of 10, 80%. You know what I'm saying? If I miss in a 25 question test, if I miss 4 questions, that's 80%. So 16 out of 20 is 80%. So you see how mathematics, simple mathematics, you could transfer that into sports. And that is another thing that these kids can be able to tie to sports. You can apply the things that you're learning in math and basic grammar today and become a writer.
Wow, and I mean that's awesome, and that's something.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be long-winded, but I mean I was.
No, that's okay. That's okay because my listeners, we want all the details. Okay, we want don't cut us short with the details.
Okay.
So,
I won't leave nothing out for you.
Okay, thank you. So the entire universe is numbers. Everything is mathematical. But what is it like to interview? I call them celebrities, but they're actually professional athletes like NFL players and NBA players and so on and so forth, because I was looking at some footage where you had the opportunity to interview greats like the Hall of Fame Orlando Pace, Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, DeMarco Farr, Azar Hakim, Mark Bulger, Anise Williams. I mean, It just goes on and on and on. So what is it like to interview folks like that? Again, I call them celebrities because they're not people I can just go up to every day and just like, hey, how's it going?
It's strange. To me, they're just regular guys. To me, and they're regular guys, but they make way more money than I do. But the thing is, I've earned their respect. And it's I see them as a person instead of a celebrity. It's not often that I'm more likely to get starstruck by somebody under the radar. And I'll give you an example. I interviewed an actress. Her name's Sandra Robinson. And I know you don't know who she is. The name doesn't ring a bell. I give you a little bit of rundown on her. She was an actress. She was on the NBC soap opera Another World. It ran for like 30 years on NBC. And the funny connection with her is that she had the same manager as, matter of fact, she had the same manager as Halle Berry, and they both was in the Miss America pageant in 1985. But you never know, unless I interview.
No, you don't. Mm-hmm. Correct.
So it was like, something obscure like Joe Buck. Again, I mean, you talking about a name synonymous in sports radio. I mean, nationwide. I mean, he calls the World Series. He calls Super Bowls. I interviewed Sharon Reed. That was at Channel 4. She's down at CBS 46. Maria Chappelle Nadal, State Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just put a period at the end of the sentence. I just haven't. I've never been offshore. I've worked out of the airport, about 25 years ago, and meeting celebs like MC8, like some of my favorite rap celebrities, and seeing them on a regular basis. So I kind of got used to it. That's what it was. I got used to seeing celebrities when I worked at the airport in the mid '90s, and so by the time I started interviewing the athletes, I was just I'm just desensitized to seeing celebrities and athletes, and that's all it was. So not making it sound like it was no big deal. I just was, I worked at the airport in my late teens, early 20s. So then I've just gotten so used to seeing those guys.
So you would say the communication skills is very important in your profession. So, we're going to talk to parents about making sure that the little ones develop those communication skills, because this is what it could possibly lead to in the future. So how important are those communication skills, Thomas?
The communication skills are so important, especially for the children. And, to learn eye contact, to be direct. When you establish eye contact, when you are direct, you gain respect. And not only you gain respect, you earn the trust. And when you're doing that as an interviewer, you will hear things that you normally wouldn't. I'll give you an example. I interviewed NBA Hall of Fame writer Peter Vecsey. He worked on NBC for like 12 years. He's won an Emmy for broadcasting. And he told a story. He told a story about him and former Lakers coach Pat Riley, who coached Magic Johnson, the Showtime Lakers. And he shared a story about how they had a falling out and how he hated his guts. And it was really emotional. But he wouldn't have told that story if he didn't know that I did my homework. With the interview, he could tell the questions I did my homework. And that's another thing. The kids, it's so important to do your homework, do your research, so you don't feel like you're rushing. And that's the most important thing, because it allows you to constantly stay ahead. Preparation is also important too. The thing that I always focus on, and it works not just with podcasting, which what I do also, but even in school. It's a preparation, it's production, and it's the three P's. Pardon me. It's preparation, production, and presentation. All of the three P's, and we go to the three things.
Too early.
It's never too early to because you got to think about the production that you put into it, and then you think about the process that goes into it, and then comes the presentation of the product. And and that could be coloring.
Right, I was just about to say, little ones do that all the time when they're creating art projects.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So.
Yes, absolutely. So, just keep it, simple, like that, and that's really helpful, because the thing is with kids and teaching them those principles. Those are things I'm even teaching my daughters. Just teaching them concepts, things that they can be able to use today that I'm able to even use out in the workforce.
Wow. So, but not only that, this is a form of communication as well. you're also a sports writer for the St. Louis American newspaper right here in St. Louis. So,
Yeah, I did up until
is that right?
2016. So I wrote for them for 12 years, and then in 2016 we just went in different directions.
So, the what I'm trying to do is make kids understand and make the parents understand that may not realize this, but communication skills and writing skills, verbal communication skills and writing skills is a form of communication. It's just different forms of communication. Would that be
Absolutely.
correct? Okay.
Absolutely,
So,
and also when you're doing that, you're not a writer. You're really more so a multimedia journalist because
mhm.
not only is it's in the print, but once it hits the websites, that's another form of media, social media. So now you're not just a writer, you're a multimedia journalist. A lot of times too, this is very important for the kids. Know what your title is because if you just say yourself, you just call yourself a writer or freelance writer, you won't get the respect that you deserve. That is just the world that we're living in, and it's not fudge anything. It's the truth. When you write, it will go in a print. If it goes in a print and on a website, that's media. So you're a multimedia journalist. Multimedia too. See, we're going back to math.
So Palmer, with all that being said, how important is it for kids to develop good writing skills?
It is everything, everything. And a lot of times, too, as adults, we forget things that we learn. And I'm talking the basics: subject, predicate, pronoun, ad, adverbs, conjunctions, interjections, know where to put a comment, semicolon, quotation marks. Those things are paramount. And again, we have smartphone phones, so it kind of make adults lazy. And what these kids are now, they're getting educated in these areas that are sometimes taken for granted. Again, what they're learning right now today is so important. If they continue to stay on that, they'll be able to have a successful career because they're able to articulate their message, in the manner that they see, because they have taught the right principles, and they're not compromising, their core values.
And what do you think that the parents should do to foster good writing skills for their child?
Or make it fun. Make the whole reading process fun. I read a lot with my kids, and we made it fun. I was always there to correct them when they did not, enunciate their words. If they, misuse words. If they say me not feel good, no, I don't feel good. If my daughter would say uh, Tanya and I say no, it's Tanya and me. So just those little things, but not not being overbearing with it too, because kids have feelings too, and parenting today is so different from when I was a kid. I was a '70s baby, so parenting was a little it's a little rough. When you think about how I was raised. So just have to adjust to these kids because they are definitely cut from a different cloth.
So when did you start exhibiting signs that being a sportscaster, sports writer was what you wanted to do?
I knew that was something I eventually end up doing. So I mean, sports, entertainment, that's all I've wanted to be a part all my life. Uh, so after I knew I wasn't gonna play sports anymore as a career in 1995, that's when I went after it. So I don't know. Now you got me on the spot doing math on the spot, right? How many years I've been doing it? But I will say, 15 years ago, I got my very first show. My very first show I got was 15 years ago. On this date, 15 years ago, I had my very first show. It took me 15 years to get my first show.
Congratulations, kudos, and it's still going on, and it's still happening. I mean, you have a show, it's there, in the zone, the podcast and all. So, quickly tell us about In the Zone, what in the zone is all about.
In the zone, I mean, it actually just started off with it being like sports. And it was another outlet, too, for myself. The Rams were getting ready to leave St. Louis, and I saw the writing on the wall. I wasn't sure how much more time I had, writing at the paper. So all the years in radio that I did prior, it had me ready for it, and I got interviewed by so many different stations across the country that just wanted some different takes on the Rams. Because, they got, it was the same group of people used to always get interviewed. But then all of a sudden, I started getting interviewed on ESPN radio in Philadelphia and going on radio stations in Detroit and Green Bay and L.A. and stuff like that. And went on a television show in Seattle. It was called Fan Face Off. And that show that I went on to win an Emmy in Seattle. So I helped this television station win an Emmy in Seattle. How about that?
Wow.
They won they won an Emmy, and that's what that has allowed me to do, and so it's been a huge blessing, Pam. Even though we're based in St. Louis, but it just has more of a national type following, and we got a chance to sponsor an event. It was a mixer in Atlanta. It was Gladiators. It's from gladiators.com. And Cecilia Town, she is the founder and CEO of that company. And she worked with women that are transitioning from sports to everyday life, teaching them how to write resumes and headshots and all type of things like that. And that's what the In the Zone Network has allowed me to do. It allowed me to be able to also stretch my own boundaries. And, I worked, covered the NFL for 12 years. I covered the NHL, covered hockey for 2 years. I mean, a brother covering hockey, which, I got a few stairs, but that's okay.
Right.
But it was great, so getting a chance to work with a lot of great women in sports. Denisha Rowe, she has her own sports magazine in Miami, Set Media. She does a phenomenal job with her magazine. Kelsey Cole Nelson in Washington, D.C., she with a Fox affiliate. I mean, the Sports Style in Brooklyn, New York, with Nikki Powell. Minorities in Sports with Shina Will in New York City. Forbes magazine did a story on her. So the In the Zone Network, Pam, it's been such a blessing. It's introduced me to so many great women in sports that are doing some great things. So I've been just working as much as I can to really help promote them and help them get their message out. Because, Pam, there are a lot of young black women, too, that love sports and they feel intimidated, because it's so male-dominated. And I just wanted to see a lot of the women get their fair opportunity in this industry, because women do a better job than men. They really do. And I'm not saying because you're a woman. I mean, it's the truth. I've been around long enough. Women are better at sports than men, especially when it comes to commentating.
And we need to teach our little girls that. We need to teach our little girls that, the sky's the limit. The only limit that there is the limit that you place upon yourself. And parents need to start, if you're not looking at your girls the same as you're looking at your boys, well, you should, and just look at them as a child. And don't put those differences upon them, because there's some little girls out here that are doing great things, fantastic things, and never let's make them think that they can't do it because they are a girl, because, girl power, girl
Oh,
respect, you know. But
oh,
also, real quick, before we get off into something else, I just want to, I want to bring out something very important that you talk about. You talk
okay.
about traveling and meeting all these different people. You're talking about the lady in Miami. You're talking about you were in Seattle, and you were talking, just the travel in itself. And how important is it for parents to expose their child or children to various places from which they live? Because unfortunately, there are so many kids that never go past the 2-block radius of where they live. How important is it that our kids are exposed to different places?
Oh, I'm telling you, you have to do it. You have to do it. There's because there are so many more opportunities now, and there's so many media platforms now, and especially the way our families are structured, especially black families. I'm in the Midwest, have a lot of family in the South, and that's what helped me grow too. Is not only just having family in that area, but making friends with our friends in that area, and that's what this allows you to do, and you can use that to your advantage. You definitely can do it. It works, and you know what? It's free.
That makes a difference too, because a lot of the times that's what keeps parents from being able to do a lot of different things for their children. I mean, it's not that they don't want to, but sometimes they just feel like it's not in the budget, or it's just not,
Yeah.
a priority when it comes to different things like perhaps traveling and seeing different places. But that is so important for kids to travel to see how other people live.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about the football team, the Bad Boys, that my grandson plays on, because they travel. And right now, this broadcast is being held from Memphis, Tennessee.
Right.
So if he wasn't, on a team that travels, he wouldn't be, he wouldn't be here today. I know that on this particular Labor Day, he wouldn't be in Memphis if he wasn't traveling with the, Bad Boys. So,
and if you don't mind, let me kick a shout out to the Music City Icons basketball owner Renee Bob. I got a chance to broadcast one of their games. They came up to St. Louis. They played the St. Louis Surge up in WashU. So big shout out to Renee Bob and the Music City Icons. Those women, they play some pretty good basketball, and I love Renee Bob already. Great lady, and she making Memphis proud. I'll tell you that for sure.
Wow.
You never know. You never know who runs to who.
Exactly, and that's another reason why it's important to get out, go to different cities, meet different people, like you were saying, so that you meet them, then you meet their friends, and then you meet their friends' friends, and before you know it, you have a major network of people that can help you. And I always talk about it takes a village to raise, a kid these days. It takes a village. So there you have your village, and you just continue to build your village, because you just never know. And so what would you tell a kid that may be interested in becoming a sportscaster or a sports writer? What would you tell them today if he or she were to ask you?
I would tell them to be yourself, trust yourself, do your research, and don't be afraid to admit when you're wrong, because sometimes people get so caught up in being right They make being right so important. They make it so important that it oversees everything else. Because, and I tell my daughter this, because they of age now. I got two, one 13, the other is getting ready to be 12 next week. I tell them all the time, you will not get a parade in your honor for being right. Chill out.
I mean,
the truth is the truth.
But you are absolutely right about not having to be right all of the time. You know what I mean? And it's actually a pleasantry actually when someone is mature enough to say, hey, you know what, I'm wrong about this. I'm wrong, I made a mistake, or whatever the case may be. I was just reading something that said, and I know I'm about to butcher this up, but it said, admit when you're wrong. Admit when you're wrong. Nobody has ever choked to death, with pride because they admitted they made a mistake. So admitting that you made a mistake is not going to, and swallowing your pride, you're not going to choke on it. Nobody's ever choked to death on, admitting that they were wrong. It just makes you more endearing, actually, when you admit that you're wrong, because there's so many people that don't want to admit that they're wrong. So what you just said in regards to that is, I mean, that's a treasure right there. That's a gold bar. that's a gold bar. So, was there any one book, photo, or article that left an imprint with you that was your revelation to make you shout, "This is it! I finally know what my life journey will include"?
I don't, because I've read so many articles and pieces in my lifetime, but I think it happened. It happened. I was actually in the car. I was like 20 years old, and I remember just listening to sports talk radio. I mean, and it hit my soul. It hit my soul. I was like, this is it.
And this is it. And parents, you just never know what your child is going to see, hear, read, whatever the case may be, that's going to leave an imprint on them for the rest of their lives. That's the importance of allowing your children to read. Have them read and encourage them to read. You don't have to strong arm them into reading, but just, let them understand how important reading is and how, reading can take you to different places if you haven't actually traveled there. It can afford you the opportunity to look into the life of a sportscaster or a sports writer or NFL player or a soccer player or a swimmer, whatever it is, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever it is that, might pique your interest. You pick up a book and it can take you into their world. So,
and Pam, one more thing, if I could add on to what you said,
sure.
is one thing that my father taught me, but he got on me enough till I started doing it. He said, keep a journal. Keep track of what you do. And I started doing that. And all of a sudden, 6 months, I can go back 6 months and I see what I did in the situation. I see why it didn't work, how I could have made it better. And the more these kids take time and they actually document to what they're doing, it would give them kind of a peek into their thinking. And it'll also help them understand their thinking, and also you can almost see their patterns of behavior, because we are creatures of habit. And if they're writing it out, they can kind of track them. You know what I'm saying? It's their own paper trail.
Okay, so Palmer, what did your parents do? If you could think back to what your parents did to nurture or help elevate your potential? Because I'm sure if you saw it, if you, pretty much knew that sportscasting or sports writing or writing was what you wanted to do, your parents, I just feel like they had to have noticed that in you. So what did they do to nurture that?
Well, I know, like, on Sundays back in the day, my dad used to get the Sunday paper. And the Sunday paper was, it was thick. It was real thick.
Yes.
It was a hefty newspaper back in the day. So he would get the paper. He would sit it out. He knew I wanted to read sports, but he would rather see me pick up something else. So you know what I started doing? I just started picking up the Wall Street Journal, Saturday newspaper, and I started reading that. It started after a while, that still started to make enough sense to me that you couldn't get over my head with nothing. When I started reading the Wall Street Journal, to just start understanding stocks and bonds and stuff like that.
Right.
Learning about politics, learning about the policies in other countries. My father always influenced me to read books. He had me read a lot about Malcolm X. And it was really, some of the stuff was a little bit, I guess, too much for me to understand at the time, but I appreciate it because it allowed me to stretch my mind outside of what they was teaching me in the classroom. And that's something that, as a parent, that you have to be willing to do, because you can't leave it in the hands of these schools to educate your kids. You can't. And that's what I really appreciate what my parents did.
And that's awesome. And more parents should really look into that. Just kind of, put a newspaper in front of the child and let them start, reading a small article, and then, perhaps increase it to, a little bit larger article, and then talk to them about it. Both of you guys can read the same article, read it together, and then discuss it. And then discuss it, because that also promotes, encourages communication skills, because if both of you all are having that exchange of ideas, because the child may see something in that article that you didn't, you'll see something in that article that the child didn't, but if you come together and discuss that article, bam, there you go. You've got communication going on while you're learning, in the learning process. So, guys, we're running out of time here. Listeners, I'm sorry. Today's show should have been Itsy Bitsy Bookworms Radio, where we're all about the kids off the cuff, because it was just totally off the cuff, free flow Sunday. From time to time, we do have these Sundays where, it's just totally free flow, and we just kind of go with the flow. We're dealing with technology, and technology is not always, the perfect situation, but I appreciate you hanging in there, staying in there with me so that you can receive some of the knowledge for your kids and yourself. Palmer, I just want to thank you so very much again for being a guest on Itsy Bitsy Bookworms Radio, where we're all about the kids. It was totally my honor. And, of course, you're going to be back on the show, and I love it when I have return guests, because it's just so much information that I want to impart to the parents and the kids. So,
well, don't worry, Pam, because you're gonna come on the In the Zone show. See, we're gonna flip the script. We're gonna have you on the In the Zone show, and then you're gonna have to do radio drops for us. You have to record the city to city, state to state, worldwide drop. You listen to In the Zone. This is the network. You have to do all that stuff, Pam. So I got some homework for you.
Oh man, okay. Well, kids out there, I do my homework. And also, I want to just say this real quick, that you never get too old to go to school, children, okay? You never get too old, because I am going to be a student again very shortly. So you never get too old to go to school. The learning never stops. It never stops. So I'd like to quickly shout out all my listeners. You are the best listeners in the whole wide world. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend about Itsy Bitsy Bookworms Radio. And hey, if you'd like to be a guest on Itsy Bitsy Bookworms Radio, just email me at itsybitsybookworms.2016@yahoo.com. And you know what? We worry about what our children will become. We worry about what our children will become tomorrow. But guess what? Yet we forget that he or she is someone today. So never forget that your child is someone today. And let's stop worrying so much about what they're going to become tomorrow and focus on what they are today. Make uplifting your children a part of your daily routine. May the Most High watch between you and me while we are absent from one another. Remember to have a lovely day, people. Peace and love.